Hello, today I'm going to go over how to find the domain and range on a graph. Now I'm going to use some highlighters to kind of help this out. I'm going to use the yellow highlighter for X and I'm going to use the purple highlighter for Y. So let's go ahead and just start with our X. So our X-axis is of course right here, and domain means X. So I want to find the domain. Then I need to look at my X coordinates. Well, I look at my leftmost X coordinate and I see it's right here. Now I notice that there is an open circle there. What that means is that that point does not actually touch right there. It just looks like it does. And so I'm going to draw a dashed line through this so that I can say, hey, it doesn't actually touch that spot. And the same thing over here. I have an open circle, and so I'm going to do just a dashed line through here. And looking at my two dashed lines, I can then go ahead and write my domain. So my domain, well, the most left would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it would be -7. My most right would be 0. Domain is X. And now, because I can't touch -7, I just do a less than sign. And since I don't actually touch 0, I again just do another less than sign, and that would be my domain. For my range, well, range I'm going to do in purple, and so my Y is my range, and so I've got my vertical Y-axis, and I look at my lowest and highest points on my range. My lowest point is down here. Again, it's an open circle, and so I'm going to just go ahead and dash this line through here. And up here I have an open circle. I'm going to dash this line up here. And we know that range is Y. So for my range, well, my lowest value would be -1, 2, 3, -3. My highest value would be 1, 2, 3, 4 at +4. I know that range is the letter Y. And again, I can't touch -3 because of the open circle. And I can't touch 4 again because of the open circle. And so that would be my range. Let's go ahead and take a look at graph number 2. Well, again, I'm going to do my domain in yellow. So I mark my X-axis, and I go ahead and look at what my X coordinates are. Well, the leftmost coordinate is an open circle, and so I'm going to do a dashed line. My right one is just a dot, so that means it actually touches this line. And so I'm going to do a solid line there for that boundary. And so if we look at the domain, my leftmost value between -6 and -8 means that is -7. My rightmost value is at 4. We know that domain is X. I do not touch the 7, so I put a less than sign. But I do touch the 4, which means I put less than or equal to. And that would be my domain. if I can make that a little bit darker. Okay, there's just a glare on there. There we go. Now you can see that it's 4. Right. Now for the same problem on my range, well, my range is y. My lowest y value is an open circle. So I'm going to do that as a dashed line. My highest range is a solid dot, and so I can just make that a solid line. And so I've cropped my picture this way. My lowest is between 6 and 8, negative 6 and negative 8. So my lower range number is again negative 7. My high range number is at 2. Range we know was the letter Y. I do not touch the negative 7, so I put a less than. I do touch the 2, and so that is less than or equal to. Again, I want to make sure that you can see clearly despite any glare. And so I've cropped that picture. Well, let's jump to the graph number 3. Now this is an interesting graph because we can see that it has an arrow. So let's talk about what we're going to do for that. So for our domain, we're still doing yellow, that's still x. Now my leftmost value is where this dot is, and because it's a dot, I'm going to go ahead and draw just a solid line through there. But the arrow means that it keeps going, and so I'm going to draw an arrow here to signify that, hey, that just keeps on going. So my domain goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would be negative 8. And it keeps going forever. That means it goes to infinity. A sideways 8 is the symbol for infinity. And again, we know that it's x. We actually do touch negative 8, but we can never touch infinity. Every time we think that we're there, it's just that much further past. And so that would be how we would write our domain. But a simpler way to write this would just be to say that x is greater than or equal to negative 8. Notice how I just took the variable, put it first, and then I changed the symbol so that it was pointing at the same thing. It was still pointing at the negative 8. Let's look at how this affects our range. Again, range is purple, and so we have our y-axis for our range. My lowest value is down here. It's a solid dot, so I can put a solid line. And the arrow is actually going up as well as going to the right. And so I'm going to draw an arrow up here to say, hey, that's going forever up. Well, this means that my range starts at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it goes also to infinity. We know that range is y. We do touch the negative 5, but we can never touch infinity. Again, a simpler way to write this would just be that y is greater than or equal to negative 5. And so that's just a simpler way for us to construct that domain and range. Now, graph number 4, let's see if we can put this together. For my domain, I know that that's my x-axis. I'm at negative 2, and I don't touch it because there's no line. So 1, 2. And then I'm at 5. Again, I don't touch it because there's no equal to bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then my range, we know that this is y, so I'm going to highlight my y-axis. I'm starting at -3. 1, 2, 3. Again, if this is a dashed line, I go up to +4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again with a dashed line. And now I have the boundaries of my graph. And I can draw any graph so long as it fits these boundaries. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a open circle here and an open circle there. And so that lets me know that, hey, I'm hitting both my top, left, bottom, and right boundaries. You could have done this in other ways, but this is just the way I'm choosing to do this. And then you just draw a graph. Any kind of graph that you want, so long as it fits. You do not have to draw a straight line, as you can see. Any graph that just hits those points but doesn't actually touch them is going to be a graph that has that domain and that range. So hopefully you now have a good understanding of domain and range. Highlighters are nice and very helpful for this, so you're welcome to use highlighters on any of these assignments. Or just get used to using pencil and understanding that the Y and the X, you're actually kind of looking at them crossways. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. Have a good day.